Sorry, with your panel there, me uitse uswako SIFA, DFI, SIFA. That's what she said. SIFA. So, so you know the issue is that in the room I've got people about my list stock fell. So the people so we need to make sure that this grant is a stock fell before Christmas Eve. So because now people need to be paid, you know? So we're trying to see how do we get this grant, because we had it's not a grant, it's not a loan, it's a grant. So now we understand English very well when it comes to that. I grant iti me mahala ha. So how do we apply? When do you open? I heard her saying 3 days. I think the ladies in the room, they want to know the process and as well as the when. And Babu Vilagazi, asikhona sibona boma old lady thina sikaboma sister. Asifaki maduku futhi sifaka amawevu sisize. So, and then I would like to open to one or two ladies who also have questions, but Sisi, sicela le umnyango uvulwa nini? Uwen, yeah. Kuthiwa uwen uyena obalekile kakhulu in the room.
Okay, as I said, we don't have a specific date. We open and we have to first deal with the backlog for the first group that we open. And once we are done, if you can follow CEDA on the social media, Facebook, they'll normally say when it's opening. And if you are a CEDA client, normally what we do, we have group WhatsApp where we send all the opportunities that we have. So we don't have a specific time that we open. Hence, I'm saying it's very important as a business person to make sure that you are always compliant. Have your document ready, have your quotation ready, is 250, and then for the cooperative is 2.5. So immediately when it opens, it will normally open for 3 days and we close. So we don't have a specific date. So it's very important to check your social media, follow CEDA on the social medias, more especially Facebook. They always just advertise them.
Thank you. This is a very sensitive question from me. But I cannot run around to each and everyone who was there on stage to have their telephone numbers and email. Can somebody there, maybe Empower, get the telephone numbers of all the speakers there, please?
Okay, we're gonna do one easier. Are we all on social media, on Facebook? Niyamdlala Facebook, angithi? Ma ungamdlala Facebook indaba ithombe zakho ezindlu zifaka kuphi? So, laba badlala Facebook, what we're gonna do, all the speakers that we're speaking here, we're gonna put their links as ama companies wabo, and as well as maybe the phone numbers if there's a lady uphi intombazana Precious ngiyacela shame. Yeah, upray uzofaka isithombe semuntu afake nama numbers nama email yabona, and then the website ukuthi this is how you get access to information from each and every person, because sometimes you can forget them. But lokho kuzodinga ukuthi udlale uFacebook so that ungene ku-EMpowaWomen, and then all those details will be there next to each and everyone's picture. I think that's the easiest way to do it. Is that okay? Okay.
And also, program director, remind them again, once they fill out those forms, they also provide their details. We will be sending correspondence as well from our side. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. My question will be directed to Usizwe. What we have just presented, it's brilliant. I think each and everyone in this house is impressed about that. But what I want to know is, we don't want to get surprised when we come to you. Please just disclose that how much do we pay for that software, and is it monthly, is it annually, and is it only for taxes? I'm asking because I've got buses. Can we also use it in buses? Just to protect our transport, because sometimes you get that something is damaged, your seats, and you don't know who did do that, and you find that the driver doesn't know who did that. And also coming to UCC, did I forget your name, Olga? My question is, okay, I did get 450 per annum, if I'm not mistaken. What do? You said it's for you to give job opportunities that is in your system, or just nationally for any other job opportunities. If I'm in your system, then I can be able to access that. That is my question. I just want to know if is it specifically certain opportunities, or which opportunities are you talking about, in which field? Coming to SIFA. And thank you very much. I can attest to what SIDA, but I don't know. Now you said SIDA, SIFA, I don't know which one is correct, but I can attest on the things that you have done for the small businesses in Lekwa. I have seen you guys coming to give our small entrepreneurs, your salons, your butcheries. I have seen that. By the way, my name is Nana Mahamuta. I'm the chairperson of Women in Business. I'm also the chairperson of the Accommodation Association. So for me to be here, it's a great opportunity. I'm going to run. I also need TETA. I'm just watching you, ma'am, with one eye so that you cannot run away. Thank you, because I still want to come to you.
Thank you so much. As you wrap up with your panel, please do also, that Mr. Vilakazi, I think the first question was yours, sir. Uguti imalini kibokai, ungazo surprise.
Thank you, Ma'am Nana, and thank you for that question. It's a very important question because it's the money. Site like sizokwenza a 20% discount on our total figure for this group, Mama EmpowaWomen, specifically, vloggers, can you do a sweetener for us? Why not? For the ladies, I go to a lot of conferences and I never done a deal sweetener before, but yeah, no, 20% off. Imote yodwa, kutinfage root co camera, even if it's a bus, is 420 per vehicle per month, minus 20% senza ubona nani. Deal sweetness nenzele on. Ma passing is corner ma. We've got behavioral monitoring, bullying, drive what is happening in the vehicle. We have all that information available for you. It's not just for the taxi. We are configurable. Luckily, Axinte Tengwe China, Lena Yazo Letwa Yazo Blackway. Yakele like hire for this industry, by the industry, for labo driver, for lama owner. So it's yours. It's tailor-made for you. And I hope that answers everything for you in terms of that question.
Thank you, and that is why it's important to register and fill out the forms, because that is your key to that 20% discount. Of course, ABSA is adding value through its partnerships as well.
So
Thank you.
What you're saying, Napela Gemkosa, you must say things very clearly. You're saying if we go and apply for this app, Yanta Devilakaz, and then if we've signed up with your forms and to be part of your ESD, it is something that you are willing to come into partnership with us on. So you would uzoba umreki nje uthi yasiza.
It's an incentive. We are
Chisa.
incentivizing you
Mina wakukhuluma
for
kahle
being here
Nkosi.
today.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nizwile ngithi. This is the part where you clap hands.
Ngicela ukuvala just with that statement. Lapha etafuleni kunama coupon. Abhaliwe lama coupon ukuthi 20% for you. Ibhaliwe, the coupon code at the bottom is EMPOWAWomen. It's for you. It's a once off and it expires on the 10th of December. So it's available if you need to use it anytime. 20% off all our services for EMPOWAWomen. And ngiyanibonga kakhulu. By the way, we've started the conversation with government about the subsidy. Here's a subsidy through this technology because the government ufuna ukwazi ukuthi baphila abantu bangakhi azobuyisa le subsidies. Khule khulunywa ngale subsidy. Yes, I can categorically tell you it's on the way using this technology. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, Babu Vlakazi, before we move on to indaba yama numbers, uma uthi laba lana namhlanje. So mina cousin wami uphethwe inyawo. Mar ubethanda ukuba khona la. Yeah, so ngamthathela ikhadi lakhe.
I sozoyifaka esikhwameni sisimani ngamakhadi akhona la ekhaya.
Ngiyansolva njalo, ngiyansotha njalo. Capacity puti?
Capacity?
I'm just checking because you're giving us a very limited time. If ngina matekisi aw 60,
Yes, ma'am.
ngina mabhasi aw 100,
Yes.
we will be able to at that time usuqedile nawe.
What happened is we do work with enterprises. I mean, a lot of the municipalities, City of Cape Town, Rustenburg, they use us the bulk, especially government takes large volumes. So as an enterprise customer car is available and you get your own portal, uzokati moto zako as an enterprise. Le ekona like yese phone but akupeli lapho ma enterprise isikhona. Thank you.
Tita izokusetha manje.
Comprehensive offering.
Asiqhubeke mama.
Okay.
Opportunities la onawo ukhuluma ngawo, is it in the sector that you are in or it can be opportunities in other sectors?
The opportunities are all over. So what happens is when you go onto our website, www.transportsig.com, which is transport, SIG stands for Special Interest Group.com. On the website, you sign up with us. Signing up with us, it's free. But listing your business on the business directory for opportunities, it's 450 per annum. It's for the whole year. So if you want to list, let's say it's a cooperative. I'm giving an example because most of the cooperatives, they are not only focused on one thing, but we find they have 5 classifications. So it means you're going to pay for the 5 classification. It's going to be your construction, your training, your catering, your transport, and also your stationary supplies, because I see most of the cooperatives are going through that. So it's 450 per annum per category.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Sicela isithombe ke bazalwane before
Yeah.
nihambe. There's no other questions angithi.
Just a closing one from me.
Okay.
Remember this, She Thrives. That is our value proposition for women entrepreneurs. It's got a whole lot of value-added services. So make sure that you make a turn at the upside stand there, and you will get to understand how to make your business thrive as a female entrepreneur. She thrives.
She
Thank you.
thrives. Thank you so much Ntate Xhwayile. Ningakhohlwa ukuthi we said umama waseThitha was quite ngicela nime la bazalwane thatha isithombe. Umama waseThitha ushilo ekseni ukuthi impact is very critical for her and for her to make a decision ukuthi siyabuya noma cha. Ngicela nithathe lamathuba. Ayinawuthatha lento. Ayinabungozi. While we continue with our program, I also would like to acknowledge Mr. Matthew Ramusia, who is the chairperson of Road Freight Chamber and a member of Finance and HR and a member of Audit and as well as a board member. He is also a resident in Mpumalanga. We welcome you, sir. Thank you for joining us. We welcome people like yourselves in this type of setup because we realize and recognize that you are people that are policymakers and decision makers in this industry. And it's always important to have you in our midst. And thank you so much for coming to join us. Thank you, Ntate Xhwayile. And ningakhohlwa ibhanki elibomvu imali ikhona. So we move. Nginitshelile ngathi thathani lento. Ayinabungozi. Izosheshe ikusebenzele lento. Unyaka uyaphela nalabo abaphehlela nemali estokfela ngiyazi ukuthi abanye sebekhokhe ngayo school fees. We are about to close, so we were going to have 2 panels before we close, but yazi ukusebenza nabantu abahlakaniphile emhlabeni kuyasiza man. Manje uthe lo sisi ozorana le panel ukuthi hayi man yazi mina ngiyathanda ukuthi masikhuluma ngemali asale sesihlanganisa le ndaba yemali khona ukuthi siyazi ukuthi ku procurement laba bakhuluma nge-procurement abanye bazokhuluma ngemali nokuthi zihlakana kanjani, how do we move forward as well, because it is important. You cannot have a discussion of this nature and then we don't have conversations around singena kanjani, angithi sifuna ukufakwa ngihlala ndibuza ukuthi manje bafakwa kanjani laphana. Uzoza usisidumile Ru with her panel to come and tell us ukuthi what are the procurement opportunities that we have in the transport sector, and as well as another ukuthi how, and as well ngiyazi ukuthi abanye benu nifuna imali ezinkulu niyayizwa nje le mali yasesida ukuthi nizobhadala ngayo istokfela khona lezi abafuna ama-million amaningi. Sister is going to tell us how do we get access to those millions. Over to you, ma'am.
All right, ladies, I'm back. Sister Kubega with our second panel discussion. And yes, Umazez is right. I decided to be agile enough to join so that but yeah, the next panel, we're going to be really talking about the vital role that women play in creating agile, inclusive, and sustainable supply chains in the transport sector through procurement. But not only that, we're talking about breaking barriers and empowering women entrepreneurs to secure the resources they need to innovate and lead through access to finance and funding. And to join me and have this discussion with me this afternoon, I would like to call upon the stage Ms. Colette Yende. She is a procurement executive for Gibela Rail Transport Consortium, joined by Ms. Masiabi Marangeni, Head of Business Development at Future Growth Asset and Management. Let's do give them a round of applause. Ladies, a wonderful and great afternoon to both of you. Thank you for looking so beautiful and joining us this afternoon. As we venture through this discussion about procurement and funding, I think it's a critical one to close off the day. It's one of the biggest things that bring most of these women into this room. They want to know how do we access procurement and how do we access funding, and you know, what are the strategies that we need to employ that makes this entire picture perfect for all of us, right? So please do introduce yourself, tell us who you are, who you represent, and exactly what qualifies you to sit on the stage at this very moment. Masiabi, let me start with you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It is a blessing to be here this morning or this afternoon. My name is Masiabi Marageni, as has been said. I head up business development at Future Growth. In fact, one of our clients is the transport sector retirement fund. So we do deal with the principal officer, Joe Litswalo, and other members on the board as trustees. And it's always been fascinating for me, the stories. We also actually fund the taxi industry, but our main role is really to make an impact in South Africa, and we do that through funding via debt or via equity. My other roles outside of that, I'm actually a leader in a Young Leaders Connect group, and there I actually help young women to be trained to sit on boards. I equally sit on boards myself. And then my other role is that I work for APSIP. I'm an NEC member, and I am the Deputy Secretary General. So giving of my time and making sure that I make an impact is part of my DNA, and I'm very privileged to be here. Thank you.
Sure, thank you so much. Ms. Colette, over to you. Tell us about yourself, please.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. I think I just would like to start with the fact that I am from Emilo. So Mpumalanga is my home. So it's so nice to be back at home to talk about the thing that you're so passionate about. So as already explained, I'm a procurement executive for Gibela Rail Consortium. I would like to think that most of us know who Gibela is. If you don't mind, don't worry, I've got you covered. So I think I'm an engineer by profession, but I've spent most of my life in procurement. And I'm happy to be talking about the one thing that I'm so passionate about: procurement and enterprise and supplier development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I think let's get the discussion started, ladies. And Colette, I'd really like to start with you in terms of procurement strategies for women that are in transport. So let's quickly talk about the barriers that we face when we are competing for procurement. What do these look like, and how can we turn these barriers into opportunities for us as women that are in transport?
Thanks for that. I think this is actually the most interesting question. But as I sat down when I arrived, I realized that the information is there. We just don't have access to it. I think the biggest barrier that we talk of is where are these opportunities and how do we access these opportunities? And in a nutshell, I think if one is to focus on actually the transport industry, there are so many associations to which things are posted on, and I don't know how much do we or how often do we share this with everybody else, like the women in supply chain, etc., etc. And I think that, I think 2 years ago when I went and spoke there, I was asked this question, and the first thing that I said is that there's no lack of opportunities out there, but it's just how sometimes we approach the request or the inquiry, and others like to call it tenders. I don't like that word. I prefer inquiry. Because even if we could set it aside, more often is that you would find that there are set-asides for women only, but we don't access them, and when we do, we don't know how to respond to them. I think we need to find an opportunity where I can partner with yourselves to just teach women how to respond to these tenders or to these documents. Because more often than not, we are not technically deficient. We are. But we need that proper understanding of what are these requirements. If they're asking for this, how do you respond? If they're asking for this, for the certification that are required. And I think for me, it's just information and education that we need to be focusing on so that these things are not far from reach.
Thank you so much. And what I'd like to do is quickly latch on to that specific answer before I come to you, Masiabi, around funding issues. What exactly are the basic compliance requirements? I know that there's ones that are standard across, doesn't matter, based on the brief that we need to respond to. But what are the basics that become non-negotiable when it comes to procurement?
First thing, we need to read what the document says are mandatory documents. Mandatory means if you don't submit one of those mandatory, you will not be attended to. That document just ends up where you left it. For me, basic is understand what those mandatory documents are. Sometimes they are simple, sometimes they may be slightly complicated. For an example, they'll say mandatory is BBB certificate, or tax clearance, or let's say there's a compliance issue, we need a certain certificate, whether it's OHS or EHS, etc. Have a look at those. And all inquiries have a clarification. What you don't understand, text, email, don't text, email the buyer. Email the buyer and say, I don't understand what this means, please respond. Sure. We will definitely email, we will definitely respond. And maybe, I don't know how much of Gibela opportunities, but I can take some profiles. For an example, if you've written to a buyer where I'm concerned and the buyer has not responded, I'm willing to assist you. My buyers need to wake up
Not sleeping. Sure. And there's absolutely nothing wrong, ladies, with clarifying and asking those questions. I think we often hold back and think, oh, I don't want to sound a little bit unaware or not smart enough. There's nothing wrong with getting clarity and asking those questions. And I like the fact that you said they need to respond if you have a question. Masiabi, over to you. I quickly wanted to talk about some of the strategies that we can employ as women that increase our chances for securing funding, especially within the transport sector. So if we can get your insight on that particular question.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think I want to maybe start first with who we are, right, as Future Growth. I think I highlighted a little bit. I mean, we've been in the industry for 30 years, and we are well known for funding infrastructure, and we are well known for doing well by doing good. So for 30 years, it's always been our imperative to find opportunities to change the landscape of South Africa. We've done a lot of BEE financing deals. In fact, Umam Gloria Serobe, some of you who know Wiphold, used to actually pay the salaries of us as executives until she became a BEE partner of Old Mutual. So, you know, we are premised on transformation. Our organization is 86% black. And from a representation perspective, we've got 39% women, right? And that is low, but by many standards, because remember, we work with other people. By many standards, we actually are the highly transformed organization. So we take women empowerment very seriously. In fact, some of you who are chartered accountants, ORCA, which is an African Women Chartered Accountant company, we've partnered with them. They own 21.2% of our business. And they have a word when it comes to women. When we are allocating executives or when we're looking at businesses, they raise their voices to say, where are the women in the room? So, I mean, you talk about what are the strategies that women can employ. I think first and foremost is that women have to start. Women have to put themselves out there. And women have to be compliant, because we operate in an environment where if you need funding, you're going to have to meet the minimum requirements, as my sister has already said. It's really not a difficult thing to do. Within your jurisdiction, you might find that there's some lady who's a CA who started a company that helps to build companies. Before your idea can even start working, register your company. You know, even if you're not making a profit, at least you've registered the company, so you have the longevity to say, I started in 2024, and now in 2027, when I've got much more clarity about which direction I'm going to go, you know, at least I can demonstrate the 3-year track record of me trying to find who I am and where I'm going. Then the second thing that I think women should do is that women need to be brave. I mean, I've been here and I've supported even Sun City. Look around you, there's power in this room. So, you know, don't be afraid to engage with people who've actually paid the school fees and find out how they're doing. And I love EmpowaWorks because they are pro-women. They are creating these opportunities so that women can find where the gaps are. Another thing that I like is to acquire the knowledge about the value chain itself. In fact, that's what I'm doing. So I've been going back to my organization and saying, I'm mapping out the transport sector value chain so that when we are talking about where do we find these women companies, then at least I can raise my hand and say, well, in the marine industry, this is what's happening. In the trucking business, this is what's happening. We're already in the taxi business. We've been funding it from infancy, so we committed there, so we understand some of the pain points. And in fact, we are dealing with some of them from a security perspective. Somebody asked about security. So because we've got a vested interest, we actually want to make sure that that's going to come right. Because otherwise, people borrow us money. We need to price the risk that our monies will be able to actually get them back. So it's an imperative for us to make sure that these businesses are sustainable. Then lastly but not least, because I feel like I'm hogging the mic, at the end of the day, we need to make money, right, as an organization. So what we need to do is that we need to ensure that the companies that we're going to partner with are going to be successful. So I would like to implore you then to come and talk to us in terms of what would actually help you to be a successful organization that we would then have to actually pay. And I'm saying this because we manage money on behalf of pension funds. Some of you work in organizations where you pay a pension fund on a monthly basis. So you have the right to demand answers, to say, where is my money going? Is it funding a white-owned business, or is it funding a business that's next door to me? It is your right and it is your power. And it's about time that we as black people exercise our power and ask, where is our money going? Who is actually taking these monies? Who is it being invested into? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Masiabi. And I'd really still like to come back to you while I just close off both sides, in the sense that there is a common thread of saying we've got to start, we've got to make sure that we're compliant, it's a non-negotiable, and making sure that you're availing yourself to the access of information. And again, all of us being in this room at this very moment is exactly speaking to that. You're availing yourself to making sure that you are empowered through knowledge and networks that allow you then to unlock the success that you're looking for. Now, Masiabi, I want you just, just take us through what would a perfect funding proposal look like from your perspective? So if I had to bring one forth, and I'm in a logistics, I'm running a logistics business, what would the perfect funding proposal for you then look like?
Yeah, so thanks for that once again. So we've got 3 models of funding in our organization. So as I said, predominantly we fund debt, so people who want to come and borrow money, but also people who want to have a equity stake, so private equity. You're a startup and you've got some level of money, but you need much more money in order for you to start your business. If that is actually in alignment with our strategy, we would look at you and we will fund businesses that are looking for 15 million to up to 45 million, right? So you can see there's minimum requirements, and there's also slightly a maximum requirements of 45 million. So that will be the first thing. The second thing is that your business would have to be registered, and your business would have actually had to be running for 2 to 3 years already. And then obviously your taxes and everything have to be in order for us to consider you. At the moment, the biggest themes that we have, one, definitely infrastructure. Transport is a big one. So we do a lot of financing for big businesses like Transnet, because we have seen without transportation, a lot of people think electricity is the thing that moves the economy. Transportation is actually the thing that moves the economy. So we have to fund the transport industry, and we're already doing that. So we want to do more of that. And then we've got other things like agriculture, water, and then technology. So that's a private equity side. Private debt, if you are an established business, right, you've been running for more than 5 years, there we would obviously look at giving you monies up to 50 million rand. So you could come and speak to us if you've got 10 million to 50 million rand that you would like to fundraise, and similar things would apply in terms of your business being in order, being able to demonstrate corporate governance. The nice thing is in the private equity space, when you don't have corporate governance, we would actually step in. So we will sit on your board and we act as your advisors. So we will say to you, no, your board needs to be comprised of males and females, blacks and white. You need to meet that. Secondly, are you emitting carbon? Because the transport sector is a huge carbon emitter. How do we minimize the carbon emission? The lady talked about rail. That's a sector that we are very much interested in, So we look at those dynamics in terms of how sustainable is your business. Even sometimes if you don't meet the requirements, if we think that we can help you to establish your business to be able to grow the cash flows, we will be in there with you. And lastly but not least, it is our imperative. I said it before as well in Sun City. Right now we are hungry to fund women businesses. And sadly, since I left that Sun City, I haven't received a call from anybody with regards to a business plan or a commitment to actually looking for funding. So that's sad, right? Because we're not here to play. Like, this is serious business. We want women to be empowered. So we're asking women to come out and be courageous and really, seek out for these opportunities. Thank you.
Ladies, I'm going to have to challenge you today. That's very disappointing. And I'm hoping that by the time we leave here, somebody's going to get in touch with Osmasiabi to find out how you can access funding for your business. Now, Colette, let's quickly talk about this narrative and this phenomenon that you've got to know someone. And if you don't know someone, you're definitely not going to make it. How are we as procurement teams ensuring transparency in the sense that we're making sure that we will be diverse, we will be inclusive within the strategies that we employ when it comes to supply chain? How do you maintain and ensure the transparency so we're comfortable to go and apply and bid, knowing that there will be a fair chance, and not having somebody already appointed and this is just now process or protocol that's being followed?
Yeah. For me, I think the issue of knowing someone, it should be about knowing Colette, who can then say, there's an opportunity, go check their website. Not that you will get it. Because we share information. And when we share information, I cannot share with you my budget that I'm looking at. I cannot share with you the evaluation criteria, etc. Everything, as I say, you have an opportunity to, should be looked at it from that perspective. So from a buyer's perspective and as executives, we need to ensure that we empower our teams and we train them so well that they understand what their role is. And their role is not to choose Colette's cousin over somebody else that is properly qualifying. Also, internally, where I am, we have a bit of a red tape, right? So there is a cross-functional team. After the cross-functional team, there's a first committee that looks at the submissions, and then there's the last committee where I sit in, where we look at the submissions. In fact, the meeting starts now at 2. Obviously, I've had to give somebody else my proxy because this is also important, right? So I think that, for me, is all about education, is all about ensuring that they know where they stand. Something is disturbing me. When she spoke about funding, I think it's also important that I also raise that even Gibela has an IDF funding. And yes, I'm in the rail space, but we don't find only rail. We find transport too. And the priority is on women. So let's make it a point that we go to this. You can talk to me or you can Google Gibela Rail Consortium, check IDF, and we will definitely support. And also, we don't only support suppliers that are in our supply chain. We support businesses. I think you've explained some of the minimum requirements that we look at. We don't even get involved to your point of saying you must know someone. We've outsourced this whole funding for the very reason that IDF does a thorough job. When they come to us, we've got 2 people from Gibela that sit in the board. But, most of it, the work is already done by IDF. So we just vet, and once that is done, what the internal team does, then they will come and say, there's this company that IDF wants to support. Would you also have an opportunity? Would you also be able to use it? Or would you also be able to buy from that supplier? And we've said tick. Secondly, what we're also looking at is to expand IDF out there. We also want to collaborate with the likes of Transnet because it's not a lack of money. We just need people to come and access it. You also mentioned that rail is the economical hub. I was in Durban this weekend. It's disheartening to see, it's good to see the trucks on the road, but how much of that should also be the truck that goes from the rail depot to, all of that. The accident that took place on Friday on the N3, I think we need to try and find a way of supporting the rail. We're supporting the rail, and I'm happy you're supporting the rail. But also the issue of opportunities. I'm also an advocate of leaving or ditching the silo mentality. As Gibel, I'm not the one to empower women. But as the transport sector, the rail sector, between Colette, between Bombardier, between Alstom, between Transnet and us, if all of us were sitting there and having and sharing our details so that people here know exactly where to look, You know, I'm fortunate that while I come from Gibela, Gibela is a partner to Alstom. And most of us know how big Alstom is. So let's talk. My issue is, if I don't tell you, you won't know. Then I would not have done justice coming here.
Sure. Thank you so much. So I think Colette is saying, ladies, that it's not a matter of having to know someone. It's only knowing somebody that will give you the information of an available opportunity that you need to look into. Now, I want to quickly latch on
Can
that.
I add onto that?
Sure, you can.
Yeah, look, I mean, I look at it that way, but in addition, I look at it slightly differently. I think life is all about relationships, actually. You know, it's about you being intentional about knowing the right person. I think the lady said she's already spotted 1 or 2 people that she needs to speak to so that she can advance her vision and her agenda in life so that she can be at some point successful or, you know, more successful. So I think that the intentionality has to be there. People want to work with people that are aligned to them.
Yeah.
So there's absolutely nothing wrong with actually developing the right relationship. Now that I know Mrs. Colette is in rail, you know, the prerogative is on me to talk to her today, call her up, you know, so that I can get more information about what it is that she's doing, you know, and put together the pieces for myself so that I can eventually get, you know, successful. So I think I want to discount the thing of being in limbo, just submitting an application form.
Yeah.
Because a lot of girls or a lot of ladies will tell you these big positions, you submit an application form and nobody even calls you.
Sure.
Unless you're putting yourself out there, you're developing your brand via social media, you're coming to these opportunities like this and taking advantage of them. Nobody's going to know you and nobody's going to really want to do business with you in that way. So I'd like to encourage, you know, that courage again to build your brand and be intentional about your relationships so that you can be front of mind when these opportunities become available.
Sure, and I love the fact that you wanted to add that because at the end of the day, it's true. People want to do business with people. And having built and gotten to get to that relationship will definitely categorize you as one of those people. So you're correct, Masiabe, and thank you so much for adding that. And I think maybe just to throw it to both of you, let's talk about innovative communication, still as an effort of this transparency conversation that we're talking about. So we bid, the closing date comes, and then we don't know what your process is, but we just know that there's silence for like 3 years. And at one point I'm thinking, oh no, that's obviously water under the bridge now. Maybe let's talk about communication efforts that are taking place just to keep these bidders, you know, aware as to how far we're in the process. Maybe alert us of both of your, you know, processes, time frames. These are things that again are relevant for us, and these are the things that will encourage us to keep on putting forward our applications. So let me start with you, Colette.
Yeah, I think I'd say when we issue out an RFQ or RFP, it would have a clarification date, if it's mandatory or not. It would have a closing date. So the issue is, when do we issue them? So when do these opportunities become available? It's a continuous thing. When you were talking earlier now about knowing people, also be intentional about putting your business out there, because sometimes my team do go to Google and find suppliers on Google, because it's not about who we know is on the database as well. It's about us also being intentional to rotate those that we already are on our system and loaded. So we do use those platforms, because what we then do, we then ask when they submit the strategy to say, where did you find these? Because we're trying to challenge the same thing that you've put in the people that you know and the people that you've, you know. So part of the business risk from yourselves is, how do you market yourself? Secondly, I think for me, from a Gibela perspective, on our website, you could put in your profile. I think there's a name there, Kamfat Mokhorosi, that you can contact. But I will always avail myself. Depending on you telling me what you supply, I will get you the correct buyer that will then interact with you, especially on the basis of, because I can't just give you somebody that is buying subsystems wheels and yet you are in, you're supplying lights, as an example. So because that person is definitely going to ignore your email. So it's just that, but the information mostly, because we're not necessarily government, we're a private enterprise. Whereas within government, you have to do open, CSD, whatnot. Ours are more confined, hence we use the suppliers that are on the database that Comfort has loaded. Or if we can't find anyone that matches what we're looking for, we use the normal Google. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you so much for that. And Masiabi, over to you. From a perspective, what's your process? Just so that we can manage our expectations.
I love that question because it talks to what do we do now? It talks to process. Yeah, I love it. So first, I've already spoken about the criteria in terms of when you want to look for funding, who you need to be. We've already also touched on sort of like communication skills and, the way that you present yourself. Then what would happen is that there would be an email address on our website where you can actually see who to send it to. It's usually info@futuregrowth.co.za. And a lot of those things actually come to my department in the business development side. And there we have 24 hours to respond to you to show that we acknowledge your email, right? Then what happens to make the process fair is that all of those application forms need to go into the credit committee side of things. Because remember, Tina, we manage money on behalf of pension funds. So we need to make sure that whatever money we're going to borrow out, it's going to come back and it's going to come back with interest. So there will be a very rigorous process that will take place. Obviously, analysts have got different specialization. So you might find that there'll be a team of 2 or 3 looking into transportation. And at a high level, they would look at those criteria and say, okay, let's have a discussion around this. I usually get invited to those discussions as well. Then they'll start understanding, okay, so it's met the requirement in terms of the first phase of requirement, just from a paper perspective. Now is to say, okay, when we look at this balance sheet, how sustainable are they going to be? What are the prevailing issues that we see here? Who are the businesses that we're going to go forward with, and who are the businesses that we're actually going to park? The businesses that we're going to park, we'll send them an email to say, hi, unfortunately, you didn't make it for reasons A, B, C, D, but we do welcome you next time. Once you've sorted out these reasons, come back. Because rejection, it's redirection, right? Yeah. So now you are more educated about what it is that you need to fix in order for you to get yourself a little bit closer. The ones that we have gotten a keen interest on, we will then call them up and then we'll start having more conversations with them. So we want to see who are the leaders in the business, right? What really motivates them. So those soft things, I think Umama said, the soft skills are actually for her the hard skills. I really resonate with that, right? Who are the leaders? What is their value system? Do they have previous track records of taking other people's monies or starting businesses that they never finish? So we'll do that whole due diligence. Do we actually click? Again, as I said, people want to do business with people that they know. Do we actually click, in terms of just understanding where we're trying to take our business and where these people are actually also trying to take their business? So that alignment is important because we've gone through the numbers now. So the softer parts start playing a much more bigger role. Then we start understanding, do you want to expand your business? What are the growth prospects? And we continue to engage you to do those due diligences with you and in fact partner with you. In the private equity side, we are even much more intentional because there we sit on your board and we play that advisory role. In the debt side, less so. So we'll give covenants, right? So we'll say, we will need you to do A, B, C, D. This is a type of